this and there.
Great game. 50 seconds to go. Hurts. Deep shot. Hold in, Devontae.
Sure.
And before the press conferences even start. I mean, we could talk for 45 minutes just about how atrocious the defense is.
He's just picking the big guys. Jordan Mailata, he's huge. He'll be good later on. Josh Sweat, he's tall as hell and strong. Let's get him. We'll figure him out. It's working.
Good morning, everybody, and happy New Year's Eve. We are live here, trending in the AM, right here on DSM Media, live, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube. As always, you know the drill. Smash that like button, smash that share button. And if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you hit that subscribe and bell button so the notifications are turned on and you don't miss a minute of the action on DSM Media. Again, today's New Year's Eve. So we're going to wrap the year up with a great show here today. It's Football Friday, jam-packed, lots of football talk to get into. But we're going to start with basketball, and all shows on DSM Media, as you know, are brought to you by Manscaped, the leader in men's grooming products, the GOAT and below-the-waist maintenance. Make sure you check them out. Manscaped.com. Use promo code TRENDING at checkout. The name of the show, Trending, and it gets you 20% off free shipping and lets them know myself, the Beard, sent you. Everybody, we got, like I said, a jam-packed show. I'm live still from beautiful Orlando, Florida, sitting here on my patio. I love it. Everybody loves the feedback. I love the feedback on everybody saying how great. You might be able to hear the golfers teeing off. The fog has lifted. I already heard during the intro video someone hitting a tee shot there right behind me on the golf course. So as always, I got my man Jason Voorhees back in the co-host saddle with me today, and our special guest today, Aaron Bell, host of the Open Gym podcast, Sixers writer for Philadelphia Sports Network. You can follow him on Twitter, only1_AB. Did I get that right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, well, welcome to Trending in the AM. I know it's early. I know it's hard to wake up for these morning shows, but welcome. And just let everybody know a little bit about yourself, your podcast, and what you're doing with Philadelphia Sports Network.
Yeah, so my name is Aaron. As he told you, everyone goes about calling me AB. I currently write and report for PhillySportsNetwork.com on the Sixers. Great group of guys over there that I had the pleasure of joining and really just contributing to what they already done with the website. Basketball was my first love, essentially. Before getting into sports overall, I played basketball, watched basketball. My father had me in a basketball as early as 5 years old, so that's where I got my start at as far as with sports. And then obviously I ventured out into the podcast world, started my own podcast called the Open Gym Podcast, which is currently on YouTube and also on Instagram as well, Open Gym Pod. Both of them is the same name. Just basically just a podcast that's just for the people, essentially, like that. I know there's a group of people out there that's not heavy into analytics and things of that nature, so I bring sports in a way and that they can understand, and also enjoyable. Lots of laugh, lots of just fun times and enjoyable times of debate. So yeah, man, that's where I'm at right now. That's what I'm getting into.
Awesome. That's awesome work. Yeah. We had Sean Bernard on Tuesday or Wednesday.
Okay.
So I love the work that the Philadelphia Sports Network podcast group does and writing people do there. And yeah, obviously, if you're part of them, your podcast must obviously be very good as well, because that whole team does well. You did not win Sexiest Man of the Year, though. I noticed I saw their year-end awards. How did AB not win Philadelphia Sports Network Sexiest Man Alive?
I told him, man, it must have been Florida down there making all these boosts, because it's no way I shouldn't have won.
Who won it? Was it Chris?
It was. I know Justin won one, and then Liam, and it was a tie between Liam and I forgot the other person that was on there. But yeah, it wasn't me, so I didn't win.
Their year-end awards. Next year, we're going to have to do that with DSM Media, the year-end awards.
Yes.
But I know I won't win Sexiest Man Alive. I'll win Best Beard, but that's about all I'll win.
Yeah, you got me on there.
Yeah. So, Jason, welcome back. Are you ready for New Year's Eve here today?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean,
all right.
I just we need 2021 to end, and hopefully 2022 is much better, because it's been insane.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to dive right into it. Like I said, this is Football Friday. we normally spend the whole show talking football, but since Aaron's on, I didn't even tell him we were doing this before in the notes. We do have to touch on last night's big Sixers win.
Okay.
Sixers, you waving at me? I'm waving. My nieces are in the background.
No, I'm laughing because of Embiid.
Yeah. There you go.
I love it.
So the Sixers last night, they had a huge victory over the Brooklyn Nets, 110-102. Obviously, Doc Rivers, Sam Cassell, a couple of their assistant coaches were out on COVID protocols, and they, the Brooklyn Nets are obviously one of, if not one of the best teams in the NBA right now.
Yeah.
And for as bad as they played down to their competition and their short-handed teams that they've played lately, the Hawks and the other game the other night, they played up to their competition last night, a pretty much full-strength Nets team. I think they were only missing Joe Harris at this point. So, guys, I mean, what's the reasoning why this Sixers team can play so bad against shorthanded teams and then come in last night without their coach?
Right.
And just, I mean, there were points in the game when they were up 11, 14 points. I mean, they gave up some stretches, obviously. Okay, so Scotty's already chiming in saying they're missing Joe Harris and Kyrie. Well, they're missing Kyrie all year, so the Kyrie does not count. They're always missing Kyrie.
And he wouldn't have played last night anyway.
Yeah, exactly, because it was in Brooklyn. We'll actually touch on that. That'll be an interesting question. I'll get your guys' opinions on that. So we'll start with you, AB. Why do you think the Sixers showed up and played so well last night when they struggled to show up for some, lesser talented teams?
Well, one, if we all know Joel Embiid, he forgets absolutely nothing. And the last time they played the Nets, we all know what happened at the end of the game. Kevin Durant, telling us to go home, drive back down 95, go back, stuff like that. So Joel, I already knew going into the game, Joel Embiid, that was going to be his mindset. And once the big man is going, once the big man is into it, it's hard not to go behind that. So I knew he was going to come in with a purpose and a strategy to make sure that he makes them pay for what happened last time. But when it comes to just the games that we should have won, where teams were just decimated with either injuries or COVID and things, I look at those games. I look at those games and I just look at how they came out with just the lack of energy, the lack of focus. It might have been a case of just looking over teams or thinking they could just step on the floor and just win without really actually putting effort into it. But it is one thing that Doc Rivers said after the press conference the other day against Toronto was that, like, it's the NBA. Just because they're grabbing guys off the street, just because they're grabbing guys, just older players even at that, they're still going to play hard, especially the ones that 10-day contracts or know they're not going to be there long. They're going to go out there and try to prove themselves that they can play. So looking over teams just because they're decimated or don't have their key contributors into game is a bad thing. But then also me personally, as I look at this team, we're going the wrong way. Me personally, as far as offensively, I've just been looking at. I know they try to put Tobias Harris in there. Tobias needs to, be the number 2 guy since Ben is gone and things of that nature like that. I don't think he's that guy per se. And it looks like the offense starts moving a little more. And you've seen it in spurts, even against the teams that we lost with, that when Tyrese Maxey is at the helm and he's able to operate and able to run, get out in space, make moves, pick and rolls and stuff like that, the team looks better. But when the ball gets to Tobias, it kind of stops. It kind of, now I'm betting my post up. Now I'm going to do contested fadeaway 2-pointers, which for the life of me, I don't understand why he does that every play. So to me, it's a combination of a lot of those things, obviously looking over the team, but then also our offensive strategy going into those games and just lack of energy.
Yeah, I think last night was probably the first time since Joel was out and then came back. So when Joel was out, Tyrese Maxey, that's when he established himself as I don't want to say a star, but as a very viable starting point guard in this league. You saw his potential there. And then Embiid came back and you started to see some struggles with Maxey and Embiid working together. I think last night, since Embiid's been back, was probably the duo, their best game together. I mean, Joel obviously had a dominant game, 34 points, 7 rebounds, 3 steals. I'm looking at the box score now. I didn't even realize he had 3 steals last night. Maxey had 25.7 rebounds, 4 assists. I think that's the first time you could see, those two guys. And we've talked, Jason and I have talked, and me and other guests have talked, Tobias Harris. Tobias Harris was at his best when he was the 3rd and 4th option on the team. When he was here with the Jimmy Butler team, he played really well in that role. Last year when Ben Simmons was here and he wasn't the focal point of the offense, he played better. This year, having to be the number 2 option is the problem. And there's always talk about big men, the phrase, they'll get theirs. I agree. They need to stop running offensive sets through Tobias because Tobias will still get his points and his shots. He doesn't need to take 14, 15 shots a game at this point. If Maxey can stay, whatever. And, Jason and I have talked about how Seth Curry, is actually probably at this point the second most important person offensively on this team. As long as Curry, Maxey, and Embiid roll well, Tobias, Curry and Maxey are not a great NBA title 2 and 3. But they're more important on this squad right now as the number 2 and 3 option. Let them get into rhythms. Tobias will get his. He'll get his layups. He'll get his shots. He'll get his rebound. He'll do what he does. But you take the focal point away from him, and this team can definitely play better. Jason, thoughts on that?
Absolutely. I mean, I think AB kind of nailed it. The energy that Embiid provides to this team is infectious. Like, when Embiid is on fire, like, the whole team just plays at a different level. It's obvious. And we've talked about it. And that was my only concern about this team was the fact that, we have to, pretty much rely on Embiid since we don't have that quote unquote real number 2 option. However, Tyrese Maxey is quickly showing that he could become that guy. I've been pounding the drum since day one on Maxey. Like, I think the Sixers got a steal, in drafting him.
No doubt about that. Even if he doesn't improve on his game as where it is right now,
at this point,
they still got to steal that from him.
Yeah, I really think that the kid is, I think he's going to be a stud. And, just last night, like Scotty said, like when Maxey goes off, that's just kind of like the icing on the cake for the team. Yes. Like, when you have that kind of effort from Embiid, and then, obviously, Curry had a decent game, not a great game, and then you put, Maxey, 5 of 8 from 3. Yeah. I'll take that every day of the week.
From anybody. So go ahead, Aaron.
No, I just wanted to real fast. We've seen it, in the previous games that we did lose to the teams that we should have beat against. It was lethargic and slow, and they was trying to force the ball to Tobias. And then later on in the game, it's like, okay, Maxey, go do your thing. And then all of a sudden, boom, it's a spark. We moving. We actually scoring. We getting stops. We're moving. So it's been a trending thing leading up to this last game that we've seen. That, like you mentioned it, between those 3 guys and Tyrese, and then you sprinkling in some Seth Curry. For this team right now, presently constructed, that is probably the best route this team should take moving forward until things are changed.
Absolutely. And I think I've addressed a few times is in an NBA season, a regular NBA season, and even more so in this COVID, world we live in, there's not much practice time. So current confident Maxey hasn't had many practices, although, according to George Yang, they don't really practice much anyway. The current structure of the current way Maxey's playing and Joel Embiid have not had practice opportunities together, really. They have 3 days off now. I'm sure they'll have 1 or 2 practices in this stretch. So that's something. There's not many times in the NBA where you get 3 days off in a row. And you barely get 2 days off in a row in the NBA. So, there's that as well. The one guy from last night, that I really wanted to address, and I love seeing it. I know his stats don't jump off the page, and I know Durant and Harden had pretty big games last night, but they're Kevin Durant, James Harden. Matisse Thybulle leading the team in minutes last night, 39 minutes, the most minutes he's ever played in an NBA game. Yeah, he didn't have like 47 steals or anything like that. Durant and Harden both had over 30 points. He was guarding Harden. He was guarding Durant at different times. I love to see the Sixers utilizing Matisse the way they are playing him. And I hope when Danny Green comes back from health and safety protocols, they leave Matisse in the starting lineup. Even when he's not getting steals or shutting them down, he is distracting these players enough.
Yes.
His defense, I mean, is already at, in my opinion, an all-pro level defense. He's already a top 5 defensive player in this league, in my opinion. AB, do you agree with that?
I absolutely agree. I know Danny Green, when Thibault went out, and he was he had his ups and downs as well as during this stretch. And Danny Green gave us a little bit of a spark, started hitting some threes and stuff. But I always went into the season believing that Thibault would have to be that guy to step up and step into that small forward role, because we all know Ben isn't here. And he was literally our primary defender at time. Well, he was the primary defender on the best guys, and we still need that, like you said, going up against the KDs and the James Harden world. And like you said, going into that game last night, yes, they still got theirs. They still both had 30 dang near, essentially like that. But he made it so difficult for those guys to. We all know Kevin Durant is great, and he makes those contested jumpers at all times. But literally, I've seen 4 to 5 trips down the court where literally Matisse Thybulle was lit in his grill, and he made them, but still the simple fact that he's attached to them, making it hard for them, making them expend energy, because now we know the Nets, once Claxton come out the game, KD is now playing the 5 as well. So now we got him working hard on offense, and he has to go on the other side and defend the bigger guys as well. So I love that. And then also just a quick snippet, I've thrown my guy in there as well, George Nang. Like since he's come back, and I have a friend of mine who gets mad because I call him the heart and soul of the team, and he doesn't like him because he's slow and doesn't really jump or anything like that. But when he plays, he just plays so smart. Like I love smart players like him, and even him last night in the minutes that he played, hitting the threes that we needed at times. He hit 2 corner threes back to back on back to back trips, which was something that we needed because the Nets started, pushing, started making that gap a little larger when it comes to the lead and everything like that. Right. So definitely those two players definitely made major impacts for this team for this year and last night.
And Jason, so I'm gonna wrap up Sixers talk here with this to you. Absolutely, they've had some struggles, the Sixers, lately. The month of January, I talked to my brother yesterday on Trending in the AM. The month of January is a very, very easy schedule by NBA standards. They have their most amount of games against, losing or non-playoff caliber teams. Can we really, realistically, even though 2 of the last 3 games before this were really bad games, Atlanta, and I don't know why I can't remember who they lost to the other night. I don't even know how. Anyway, is that win last night against the Nets a big enough win that this can springboard and turn this season around in the sense where they can start getting confidence, start getting on a winning streak, maybe not take some of the lighter teams, the lesser teams lightly and all. Is this a big enough game and a big enough win to turn the season around?
I mean, I think 100% it is. I don't see how you can beat arguably the best team in the league and not get a feeling of, okay, we can beat, as you said, they're 90% at capacity. I mean, they don't have Kyrie, but like you said, he hasn't really been a part of the team for forever. I mean,
really, he hasn't been. He
really
hasn't. Maybe he hasn't been a part of the team.
Realistically, I'm looking at this as, yes, it can be a springboard win, but they all have to look themselves in the mirror and say, okay, well, we did this to the Nets at, basically full staff. Why can't we? They have to ask themselves that question. Why are we having so much problems? What is the real problem? Is it the coaching? I don't know, because I don't have an answer. I mean, how I feel. I feel like Doc Rivers is just not, pushing the buttons. He's not getting the best out of these guys. Right. That's kind of my thought process behind it. I mean, obviously, it's the players on the court that have to execute. But if you have a coach that's not really coaching these guys up, and as Niang has pointed out, they're not practicing. Well, to me, that's a problem. They have to look themselves in the mirror and say, okay, we are capable of beating any given team on any given night, but we have to play. We have to, have that heart. And I think Embiid is still obviously the focal point. Like, if he drives this team like the way he did last night, then yes, I think this win gets them, moving in the right direction. Obviously, a lot of things have to happen still. What's going to happen with the trades? We're at the point now where it's like, is it going to happen this year? I don't know. But yes, I think it can definitely get them in the right direction. Phil.
AB, same question. Is this win going to help them moving forward?
I believe so, because it's one thing with me that I'm looking at, and is towards Embiid, but we all know Embiid has this thing where if you feel like he needs to put everything on his shoulders, he's going to do everything possibly can to make sure he win games. But something I seen last night that I feel is starting to build, and actually a couple games that we actually won, is the trust, the chemistry, the trust, and the camaraderie. There's a lot of times I've seen him be in the past where he'll just go up on 3 people and try to score, where we just said Yang, 2 corner threes, those are from Embiid passes from out of the post where they doubled them, they triple teamed them, he threw it out. So this can be a building block. And even with the press conference with him and Maxey, he called Maxey trash the 2 days before, and then Maxey comes out tonight. Like, stuff like that, people might not really understand, but when it comes to sports and being a player, stuff like that really gets players going, really get other people going, and trust is a major thing when it comes to this team. And they know this is all they have right now until trades happen, whenever that might be, which I do believe it will be this year. This year, they have.
You're saying it's happening today, because today's the last day of the year. So you're saying the AB from the Open Gym Podcast just predicted the Ben Simmons trade this year. I'm sorry. That's such a cheesy joke right there. I'm sorry.
Let me correct that. This NBA season was the 2021-22. There we go. Let's bleed on into the next year.
Sorry. I love cheesy jokes. I can't help myself there.
Oh, you're good.
All right.
Man.
So real quick, because we got to get to football here. We got lots of football to talk about. Real quick, less than 30-second answer from both of you. AB, you're first. Kyrie is going back to the Nets, and he's going to play road games when he can. Would you want him back on that team, even though it's only going to be half of the remaining games? Would you want him back?
They need him at times, because we don't know what this season is going to uphold. I mean, you can go right back in the COVID protocols tomorrow. Someone can get injured. I mean, you've seen Kevin Durant was playing 30-plus minutes every night, every position. So if they don't want to kill the main guy in Kevin Durant and keep him preserved, it's something they have to look at, even if it's at a part-time role where you can just spell him.
It doesn't affect chemistry in the locker room.
I don't think so, because Kevin Durant wanted them. I mean, KD wanted Kevin Durant there, and but the only person that probably can be affected is probably James Harden. But KD and Kyrie, they're pretty good.
Jason, do you feel the same way, that it's okay bringing Kyrie back into the fold, even on a part-time basis?
Absolutely. If I'm the Sixers, I would take Kyrie on a part-time basis over Ben Simmons not playing at all. That's just how it is.
That's a fair way to describe it there. Absolutely. Yeah. It's like when I've talked to Scotty and I've talked to other people on the show before, that if Ben Simmons wanted to come back tomorrow, I'd welcome him with open arms as well.
Exactly.
Because you need him at this point. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That's interesting. I'm glad we all agree on that. All right, it is Football Friday, and we just spent the first 24 minutes talking basketball on Football Friday. But the Eagles have an important matchup against the Washington football team this weekend. They can clinch the playoffs spot, the wild card spot this weekend with a win, with a Minnesota loss, and either a San Francisco win or a New Orleans loss. So there's a few things that have to happen, but they can win. They control their own destiny by winning this weekend against Washington. So we got to start talking keys to the game, how it's going to play out. I mean, I have the injury report from yesterday up on my screen here. Miles Sanders, obviously, he is ruled out. Jordan Howard did practice limitedly, so maybe he is back. But Cox, Gainwell, Herbig, all these guys, Johnson, Kelsey, they're all going to be back for the game. Dirk Barnett is the only major name at this moment, knock on wood, on the COVID protocol. Yeah, exactly, as AB said, just whatever. That's the problem, because Dirk Barnett plays a lot of snaps on defense. You've been out without Brandon Graham all season, so that edge is going to be a hole. There's going to be a hole on the edge there. Ryan Kerrigan's got off of COVID protocol, so maybe he starts in his place against his old team and actually plays well or something like that. Gives us one little glimmer of hope there. So let's start with you, AB, since you're the guest here today. the first major key to victory and working on controlling our destiny and locking up this playoff spot against Washington on Sunday?
I mean, it's obvious. It's not a secret. It's really not what this Eagles team is. Run the ball, like point blank. Period. I know we are down running back, our top guy, Miles Sanders. Jordan Howard was limited, but I believe he'll still try to at least try to play. You still got Boston Scott, you got Kenny Gainwell, and I know Boston Scott wouldn't be a main running back for 17 games now within the NFL, but we talking about just these last 2 games of the season going into the playoffs. You got to ride that offensive line. It's what got you here, and we seen it last week where they tried to get away from it. They felt good about themselves. Let's throw the first 3 passes up. You see how it goes. You know, Jalen Hurts got better as the game progressed, but that's only because we started doing what we do best, and that's run the ball, time of possession, and then also the defense, when opportunities present themselves, get turnovers, get stops. It's very simple for this Eagles team this season. We don't have to make it too complex because I do believe this team still lacks talent in certain areas, so we can't get too cute, can't get too extravagant in what we do. Go in there, pound a team that don't want to play. They were just hitting each other last week on the sideline. They literally was just fighting on the sideline last week. Like, just go in there, press your dominance on that team, get them out the game early, and let's go on home and get in and wrap this season up and get ready for the playoffs.
Absolutely, Jason. Is it really that simple as AB says?
I mean, I don't think it gets more simple than
All right,
that.
show's over. Thanks for tuning in.
I mean, that's a mic drop. That's a mic drop. No, honestly, like.
Well, I don't want to drop my mic. It's brand new.
Well, yeah, you don't want to do that. But if you think about it and break it down, it's truly the basics of the NFL. Like, if you run the football, most teams have success. Right now, Eagles are still, even with a lesser than 175-yard performance, are still leading the NFL in rushing, which shows you a lot because the second team in the NFL in rushing is the Indianapolis Colts, who happen to have Jonathan Taylor as their running back. Yeah. Some people may have heard of him. He could be an MVP candidate. Okay. So what that tells you is that running the football, you don't necessarily need a stud running back. It's all about the offensive line, the schemes that you run, and the personnel that you have. And the Eagles have done it masterfully, like with multiple running backs. So I think we talked about it on numerous shows, how coming into this season, the Eagles running back room was deeper than it's ever been. I mean, you have guys that it's kind of plug and play. Like, yes, Miles Sanders is their best running back, and that's a fact. He is. Yes. He's their most talented running back. He's their home run hitter. But if you looked at even earlier, before the Eagles started really running the ball, I mean, when they started running it, Miles was still not really having the success that he had later kind of down the line.
Right.
They were doing it as committee. So to me, it is that simple. You run Jordan Howard if he plays, which I believe he will, the way that Sirianni's been talking. He did practice limited. I think Jordan Howard's going to play. If he's able to get on that field, he will. And Boston Scott, he might not be the flashy name, but we saw what Boston Scott did last year. Now, yes, we don't pick who we play. I know there's people out there like that say, oh, well, the Eagles haven't played anybody. You know what? At this point, I don't care. If we're playing Washington, bring it. Because I want to make the playoffs, and this team has that opportunity right in front of itself. All they have to do is basically the basics. Don't turn the ball over. Keep running the football. And I'm not saying don't throw it all, because Hurts has shown improvement in that area. Right. But you need to keep it simple. Don't try to overthink it. Don't do anything fancy. Just play, and don't turn the ball over.
So I know George is watching right now, and George says not to take this game lightly, okay? My brother was on yesterday with me, and he said this game can be a trap game. Look, first and foremost, we all agree running the football is a key. I mean, obviously. But I think the bigger key is fixing the issue that has been a major issue all season long, and that's the slow starts. I mean,
Right.
we just look at last week. Last week, what was it? 4 straight passes to start the game, 7 of the first 8 plays passing the game. We didn't start establishing the run till later in the first half. If the Washington football team, I don't know exactly all of Georgia and my brother's reasonings behind it, but if we don't establish, if we start slow, this Washington team is getting guys back from COVID. This Washington team, I mean, it's a very, very distant chance of making the playoffs, but I think they're still technically in the playoff hunt. They were embarrassed by Dallas. These are grown-ass men that were embarrassed as a team last year, whether they're shorthanded or not. If you come out soft, if you come out slow, if you come out without the proper game plan, look at it. When we played them on Tuesday night a few weeks back, they came out and took advantage of our mistakes and were leading that game. Now they were too shorthanded, with Gilbert Godfrey as their quarterback to really keep that lead, But there's that thought process that if the Eagles do not take this game seriously, that they could fall behind, and if they fall behind, they still have Antonio Gibson, they still have Terry McLaurin. Tyler Heineke and Kyle Allen are going to be suiting up this week. Yeah. This is still a team that a lot of people had, predicted to finish ahead of the Eagles this year. A lot of people, there were some people that had the Washington football team in the playoffs. So, you cannot take this team lightly. And Nick Sirianni needs to learn and grow as a head coach to not let his game planning get this team off to a slow start. And I understand where George and my brother are coming from with the fear this weekend, that this could be a trap game. And that's my key. My key is that first quarter, that first offensive drive. Yeah. If you look at all the mistakes the Eagles are making, they're all being made in the first quarter. The interceptions, the fumbles, the penalties, all the problems are in the very beginning of the game. They're slow starting. They're not ready to start the game. And if Nick Sirianni doesn't clean that up, that could be a problem on Sunday, in my opinion. AB, thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. I'm not going into this game thinking it's just a easy win, because I like Mike Rivera. I said Mike Rivera. Rivera as a head coach. He's going to have his guys ready. He's going to have them knowing and understanding what's at stake. So I definitely know it's going. And it's an NFC East division game, so those games are always going to be tough regardless. But I do believe that the Eagles is one thing I've learned from Sirianni, even though at times he's reverted back to his old ways, because I do think he does want to run his offense just a little bit different, but he's definitely a overcorrector. So things that didn't work previous weeks or anything like that, he's definitely going to correct this week. And I know he understood that, okay, last week I tried to be fancy, I tried to be cute when it came to passing the ball a lot. No, but knowing that's not his team's strong suit. So I do believe that was the emphasis of the talk this week, letting this team know, letting them be ready, even being down some of the players that's not playing, that we got to come in here with the expectation that these guys are going to give us their best shot to stop us from getting somewhere that they wanted to be all year long and making the playoffs. So I do believe it can be set up as a game like that, as a trap game, but I do believe this team is definitely going to be ready. And to help Hurts early on with the slow starts in game, it still comes down to running the ball, because as we've seen throughout this year, that the second half or even later on in the game, the more we ran the ball, the more we gave the ball to the running backs, it opened up the passing game for Jalen Hurts. And we've seen it last week where Devontae Smith, you started to see why he was a number 1 pick in the draft, and games where Dallas Goedert receiving over 100 and some yards a game and touchdowns and things like that. It's because Lane Johnson scored a touchdown last week, fellas, wide open in the end zone. And why was that? They committed so hard to that play action, let that man go into the – obviously the offensive lineman wasn't expecting it, but still that's assertive dominance on the run game with that O-line. It will open up everything else. We play from the run to the pass, and I feel like we'll be in great enough shape to be able to go in and win
I
the
mean,
game.
we look at it. I forget the exact number, but to start the game last week, it was 3 or 4 passes to start the game.
To start it.
They were all awful plays. Then they ran the ball with Miles Sanders one time. He got 11 or 12 yards for a first down. But then they went back to 3 or 4 passes. It's got to be the complete opposite. You need to run the ball 3 or 4 times, run one pass play, then run the ball 3 or 4 more times, establish that dominance. And Jason and I and all the guests I've had on the show, we've talked about it, ad nauseum, how play action and RPOs, they don't work if there's no threat of run. Exactly. And now you see it with the Gardner Minshew game. You see it the last few weeks with Jalen Hurts, that when you're establishing that run, we talked about it, Jalen Hurts has looked like a better quarterback, not necessarily just because he's all of a sudden a better quarterback, but because of the threat of the run. It's making things so much easier for him. If you look at his next-gen stats and where his targets are, earlier in the season and where he's throwing the ball to where he's throwing it now, he's stretching the field a little bit more. He's taking more shots. You've got Dallas Goedert, Devontae Smith open for 20 and 30-yard plays, and it's all because of the run. So it's so crazy that the opening key to the game that you had, AB, running the football, I mean, it literally is the key to this game, is Nick Sirianni's game plan and how he calls these running plays. And I think you said it about Boston Scott. Boston Scott's not a lead back for a full 17 games. He's just not built for that. But we've seen it in 2019, and he's got the opportunity again now. Boston Scott, in a pinch, can be that guy. I love Boston Scott this week. I'm a fantasy football guy. I had my fantasy football show last night. Boston Scott in DraftKings at his price is a huge value, because even though Jordan Howard's going to play some, Jordan Howard or Boston Scott is going to be so key this week. He's going to touch the ball 15, 16, 17 times probably this week. And his style, I mean, it's great, and I'm really looking forward to that part of it. Jason, thoughts on all this?
Well, I mean, first and foremost, in this year of parity in the NFL, I don't think any win is an easy win. So to George's point, I don't think either I or AB think it's easy. I don't. Is there a possibility it's a trap game? Absolutely. I think that the bottom line is, if you look at these two teams on paper, the Eagles almost certainly should win the game. It's absolutely going to come down to if they, can connect and execute on the game plan. And it all starts with Sirianni. You're right. It's these slow starts that the slow starts are kind of like the one main issue that's not getting fixed. If you look at this team from beginning till now, they've had multiple issues where we've said, this team needs to get this fixed or this corrected. One of them was the defense with Jonathan Gannon. Even on defense, I've seen this team improve. Are they where they need to be 100%? Absolutely not. I mean, they definitely have holes on the defense. I think a layman could observe that.
Right.
You don't have to be a football guy to know that the Eagles have issues on defense, but they have made improvements. I think if you looked at the passing game with Jalen Hurts, is he the answer long term? I think there's still questions on that. However, he's shown an ability to improve on his game on areas where he was deficient. Okay. The slow starts, they continue. So yes, that is the key, Phil. You nailed it. You cannot come out slow.
That's why I'm the GOAT. I'm the GOAT. Right now, the key is every single time.
Here's where I'm at with it. You could come out slow against teams like the Jets, the Giants, the Washington football team. You can come out slow against those teams and win. However, when you go into the playoffs, you're going to be facing Dallas Cowboys,
Rams,
Tampa Bay,
Cardinals, Green Bay.
All these teams, yes, exactly. All these teams where if you have slow starts, it will kill you. Because if you have these kind of slow starts against Aaron Rodgers, you could be down 21-0 before the half. And you're not going to be able to run the ball at that point.
Right.
Because you're going to have to pass. And then it's going to actually really show like, okay, Jalen, you have to show us now. Which sometimes, and I'm not saying Jalen can't do it, because I think every time we say something about Jalen Hurts, he proves us wrong. So absolutely. I'm not going to say that he couldn't win a playoff game. I mean, let's face it. Things have happened. Nick Foles happened. I mean, listen, 90% of the people in that game did not see us beating Tom Brady with Nick Foles. And what happened? We won. So anything can happen. Will it happen? I don't know. I guess it will come down to execution. But I think the biggest key is winning the turnover battle. Because in this day and age, that's become even bigger.
Yeah.
If you turn the ball over, look, I mean, Baker Mayfield had 4 interceptions the other night, and they still only lost by 2.
Right.
If he doesn't turn that ball over even just 2 times, he could have beat Aaron Rodgers. I mean, that's a fact.
Yeah.
So I think it's just Jalen has to protect the ball, not throw interceptions, don't fumble the ball, and maybe get a turnover. Like maybe Darius Slay comes up with another pick. Like somebody is going to have, a defensive.
I've got a secret play this week that's going to have a huge game, and I'm going to go with AB. I'm going to let you know. I'm going to give you this one. Oh, sorry. I was trying to unmute you. And hold on. I got it. There we go. I want to unmute you there for a second. And so I got a secret play, a guy that's been everybody's down on. Everybody's bashing and calling them names and get off this.
Man.
And secretly, he had one big drop last week. He has had some big plays called back by penalties lately. He had a big punt return last week. Jalen Reagor is secretly maybe squeaking a turn of a corner, maybe being shorthanded, being up against Washington. This is the week that the big play happens with Jalen Reagor, and it's not called back by a penalty. It's not called back by anything like that. This is the week that Jalen Reagor
drops the Reagor bomb.
Yeah, maybe he catches that Reagor bomb this week. And I like that they're still putting him. They're using his penalty that was called back, or his touchdown called back on a penalty, and his drop pass last week. Both were set up perfectly, bubble screens, and one was called back by the penalty, and last week was dropped. Both would have been touchdowns.
Right.
So they're still going to him. Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts has not lost confidence in Jalen Reagor, probably because there's nobody else to put out there. But this week, as George says, he is due for a big game. I actually am playing him in my fantasy football head-to-head matchup against Jason Sullivan in the DFS, no pun intended, weekly league. I've picked Jalen Reagor as my flex spot because I am that confident Jalen Reagor is getting a touchdown this week. AB, am I completely nuts and psycho on saying that?
I mean, oh man, you put me in a bind here because just a quick little early on coming out of college where we picked him at. No, but I had some intrigue in Jalen Reagor, but he did nothing but disappoint me since he's been here. But this week, his biggest thing is confidence. When he's not into the game, you see it. Those are times when he's just not finishing routes or dropping passes, things of that nature. Can he be? I would hope so. Build on what he did last week. Like you said, a nice punt return back. Was it 39 yards that he took it? Like you said, the 2 screens, one he dropped, but the other one, both would have been scores, and the other one with the
I think it was Devontae Smith on that one there.
But, I mean, you know what? Just because I'm an Eagles fan, I'm gonna use my heart this time more than my head, because my head is telling me hell no. But my heart is telling me, for the sake of this team, just giving us something, anything at all. I'm gonna rock out with you, man. I'm gonna say
and Jason,
going to come through.
Jason, when I'm doing my daily fantasy, my DraftKings show, I do some research on it, and I left my notes inside, so I don't have the exact numbers. But his targets and his touches are still there, and they're actually increasing to a bit. So when I'm picking somebody in a DraftKings lineup, I'm doing it because target trends and usage rates and stuff like that. Just because he's had a bad year doesn't mean that the team is still not going to him, and they are going to him. And outside of the drop last week, his confidence, just this much. It's not a lot. His confidence is this much better every single week lately. I don't know what it is. But that's why I'm not just doing it on a whim and as a fan and whatnot, because I've been just as bad as most people on anti-Jalen Reagor. But I think Jalen Reagor knows he's going to be around for a little while longer as a rookie. They're not, or as on a rookie contract. They're not going to cut him. You just don't cut a first-round pick after 2 years. So he's got that in his mind that, look, if I could turn this around, I'm still going to be here anyway. It's time for the Jalen Reagor bomb, Jason, for sure.
I mean, I could absolutely see it coming this week. I think it's going to have to happen eventually. I mean, eventually he's going to have to make some kind of play because he's an NFL player.
Time.
He's made the NFL. It's not like he's some schlump. I think
some
the problem
would say he is a schlump, whatever a schlump is. I think some people would say he's a schlump.
No, but I think the major part of the problem is that everyone looks at Reagor and we're never going to get away. We will never be able to get away from the comparison and comparing him with Justin Jefferson because everyone is so stuck on that. And
I didn't want this to turn into a Justin Jefferson conversation.
No, I'm kind of but I'm not turning it into that. You're missing my point. What I'm saying is that's why it's so hard for most Eagles fans to actually admit that Jalen Reagor could turn it around because nobody sees it happening. But the point is that he's an NFL wide receiver. He's definitely capable. I'm not going to say that he's going to become, a wide receiver one in this league. He probably never will. But I think he still has the talent in him to start making some plays. And I think AB hit on it. It's confidence. That's what it was with Aguilar. A lot of Aguilar's issues were not that he didn't have the skill to make plays. It was all about his confidence. And the problem is when you have low self-esteem and you have low confidence and you're making bad plays on the field every single week and you see it, it's easy for us to say, well, don't turn off social media, but everyone's on social media. So we're on social media and we're telling him to turn it off. So he's right. I mean, look in the mirror. It's like, Jalen Reagor, shut social media down. But we're on social media 24/7. But, I think he's definitely going to make a play sooner or later. So
why not this week? I'm telling you. Hey, AB, just so you know, on my DraftKings show, twice this year I've called Matt Collins touchdowns for the Dolphins. So when I call a cheap, low-level, bottom-priced guy on DraftKings for a touchdown, I'm normally on to something. Just so you know.
Let me go place my wagers. Let me go place my wagers right now.
Anytime touchdown bet. I don't know what the anytime touchdown bet odds are for Reagor this week. I'm in Florida. There's no sports betting. Governors, whoever you are here in Florida, if I'm going to ever move to Florida, you better legalize sports betting before I do. Because I can't bet this week. It kills me. This is going to be the first week of the year I don't bet. I'm very frustrated about that. And I'm very, very bitter. All right, guys.
The one fantasy league that I have Reagor in, you just changed my mind. Now
you're benching Jonathan Taylor in your flex spot for Jalen Reagor this week.
I'm inserting Reagor in the championship round, Phil. This is on you.
Hey, I want 10% of your cut when you hit that. All right, so we got to get to score predictions here. Obviously that's what we do here, score predictions. AB, as the guest, you get to call your prediction and how you see it playing out first.
So if the Eagles go into this game doing what I believe they should do, that the world knows that they need to do,
right? I
feel like it's not going to be easy because, again, this is the NFC division game. So it's going to be tougher than people thinking. Like you said, again, Tyler Heineke back, some defensive players back. They're just getting a lot of players back from COVID. So it's definitely going to be tougher than last time. If I had to go into it and if I believe what I believe with the Eagles, we're doing what they do, I feel like we can still win this game by 7 points at least, for sure. I'm thinking like a 31 to like 20, 31, that'd be 10, but so I'll go with that. 10 points, so I'll go 31-21 Eagles. I feel like they're gonna give us their best shot. It's gonna start early. They're gonna try to gash us early. You're gonna see a lot. I feel like they're gonna try to get some big plays. They did it last week. The one pass to Terry was it? How you say his last name? McLaurin. Yeah, there we go.
Terry.
There we go. They took a shot last week with a lesser quarterback. So I believe that's their game plan, and they have the quarterback to be able to do those type of plays. So I believe they're going to give us their best shot, and I believe it's a 10-point victory. I can see a 31-21 type of victory coming out. They score late, we give them some points, stuff like that. So yeah, I can see that happening for sure.
All right. 31-21. That's crazy. Okay. Not crazy. I'll tell you why it's crazy in a minute.
No, good.
No, because I go last with predictions, so that's why I'm going to say I'll explain it in a second. Jason, you get to go next.
Well, so I predicted last score right on point, 27-17. I don't see this game being as high of scoring as AB, but I do think kind of the same format. I'm going to go 24-14 Eagles.
24-14.
So they're going to win by 10. Same score, difference, but just not as high. I don't think because of the fact that it's a division game, because of the fact that it's the second time playing in only 3 weeks, and obviously Washington will have more of their players back. I think, as George and your brother said, I think this is a game that you do got to be a little. I'm not saying I'm nervous, because I don't get nervous. Like, it's football. Like, they're gonna it's gonna happen whatever happens. But if you're gonna be looking at this game as kind of a trap game, I think that the possibility lies there. But I think Eagles come in, take care of business, 24-14, and one more game closer to the playoffs.
Yeah, so AB, my score I wrote down before this show is 31-21.
Wow.
The exact same score. And the reason why, because I think it's going to be a close game. I think it's a trap game potentially, and I think it stays close. But I think the desire, where the Eagles are in the playoff chase, I think later on in the game, I think they come out maybe strong, maybe they don't. I don't know. But I think eventually the different spots in the season where Washington is and Philly is, Washington's kind of packing it in maybe. Maybe they kind of just lose a little of their luster later in the game.
Right.
But then the Eagles, and then that's when the Eagles separate themselves in the game. That's when they're able to pull away, whether it's a pick six, whether it's a regular bomb, whatever it is later in the game, that's when it happens. I could see this being a 21-17 halftime score or a 17-14 halftime score. And it's in the late third quarter, beginning of the fourth quarter, when we separate and win this game.
And just a quick thing, and the reason why I said that, you hit it right on it, and it's been trending that way this past couple of weeks. We start out slow, we stay close in the game, but then as soon as that second half comes, we just take off. We scored 30 points the last 3-4 games in a row. So I feel like that second half, those adjustments and things that we do when it comes to that, it just really that's what I'm looking at. Stay close early, then second half we just separate ourselves and we just go on and win the game for sure.
All right, so we're gonna end this show here with a special thing here, because this is my little nephew Connor. First off, he's a big sports fan. So who's your favorite football player on the Eagles?
Jalen Hurts.
Jalen Hurts. Okay. Today is Connor's 6th birthday. Girls, you want to come out here too? Come on. I want to get everybody here to wish Connor a happy birthday. These are my nieces, Maddie and Devin, as well. So today is Connor's birthday. Who's your who else are your favorite football players?
Lamar Jackson.
He is a Lamar Jackson fan, this boy right here. And then, of course, see the guy here? That guy there, Jason, he's a huge Flyers fan. Who's your favorite Flyer?
Claude Giroux.
Claude Giroux. Uh-oh. Jason's not a big Claude Giroux fan right there.
No,
what's
I like
your favorite
it.
sport?
Basketball.
Basketball. Okay. All right. So can we all do us a favor, girls? Help out here. Can we all sing Connor a happy birthday here real quick on the air? Girls, get close to the mic here. All right. 1, 2, 3.
Happy
birthday
to you.
Happy birthday
to you.
Happy
Happy birthday, dear
Connor.
Connor.
Happy birthday to
to you.
Hey, do the Eagles win, Connor?
I don't know it.
You don't know if the Eagles are going to win on Sunday?
No.
Jalen Hurts the quarterback. They better.
They better. Jalen Hurts, right? Are we going to watch the game here at the pool on Sunday? Me, you, and your dad? Yes, we are. All right. Thanks for coming on there, buddy. Great job, girls.
Happy birthday, Connor.
I totally embarrassed them all like that there, but had to do that.
Okay.
So anyway, everybody, thank you for tuning in. Trending in the AM right here on DSM Media Football Friday. Be live all weekend long. New Year's Eve, everybody be safe and happy. And as always, we're brought to you by Manscaped. the leader in men's grooming products. Check them out, manscaped.com, promo code trending at checkout, get you 20% off and free shipping. For my man, Jason Voorhees, my guest, AB, Aaron Bell. Make sure you check him out. Again, I closed it out now. It's only one _AB, right?
Yes, on Twitter, and then only one AB. It's 2 underscores in both of them. So only one _ AB. Then on Instagram, only one AB __.
The best
And the pod
AB.
is just only one. Open Gym Pod is the podcast.
I love it. I love it. I love you got your gear. I have my gear. I've already worn it though. Everybody have a great day. Everybody have a safe New Year's. Be safe when you're going out tonight. Be safe whatever you do.
Yes.
Let's end this 2021. Let's bring in 2022 in a great way. And we'll start it off with a big Eagles win on Sunday. So everybody have a great, great day. And we'll end it like this. Go Birds.
Yes, go Birds.